is trapped in some kind of hell. Like there is a point in the movie where Nikki, the real Nikki, is able to communicate with Bear while she's sleeping. So she's talking in her sleep, and the real Nikki is coming out, and she is begging Bear to kill her. And Bear's response is, well, what's so wrong with being with me? That's the point at which I lost all sympathy for him, because you can clearly see that she's suffering. And at that point in time, he nonetheless chooses to ignore her and continue along with this situation. That's not really the arc of a guy who made one bad mistake. That's the arc of a guy who keeps choosing the wish over and over until reality forces his hand. That's the film telling you right there. Guys, I know we set you up for this. I know that you sympathize with the protagonist in the first act, but at this point in time, there's a turnaround. There's a shift, right? Something happens here. The character is now culpable for what follows. I would say the sympathy that the film extends to Bear in the first act is a very elaborate and effective form of misdirection. The film is saying, this is what guys like this look like. They're not monsters. They're sad, oftentimes seemingly decent, low-stakes guys who you would not necessarily flag as dangerous if you met them at trivia night. And look, sometimes guys like this will fucking destroy a woman's life if given a chance, and they will tell themselves a narrative about it that makes them the protagonist. The horror of this film is not that Bear is exceptionally bad. The horror is that he is mundane, that he is banal. He is a normal guy. He is a nice guy, right? This is the nice guy trope. That's kind of what I think the crowd who is more sympathetic towards Bear is missing. They're identifying with Bear, and they kind of seem to, at a certain level, understand his sadness. They use that to look away from what he actually does. If the takeaway from this film is, oh, poor Bear, then I honestly, I think you watched the film wrong. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. The film gave you his interiority in the first act, so you would have to sit with the fact that interiority, like someone's mental state, does not absolve them. Bear's loneliness is real, but so is what he did. So are his actions. Both of those things are true, and pretending like the first one cancels out the second is exactly the move that the film is built to expose. I also think like there's something weirdly parasocial going on here. Like I said, I think certain people are identifying with Bear, and there are certain points in my life where I would have been kind of like this guy. I would like to think that I would have made different decisions if given the opportunity. The point of the film is not that Bear is some kind of evil piece of shit. The point is rather that this guy with this specific set of psychological issues made these choices, and these choices had ramifications for everybody in the film. Obsession has a certain heightened reality to it. Ultimately, you need to start thinking in metaphorical terms when you watch a film like this. When you see that kind of heightened reality, what is being conveyed, what is being kind of telegraphed to you in the audience is not that you should be interpreting what is happening literally. People need to stop being so literal. One particularly insane comment I received was trying to argue that everyone needs to stop being so hard on Bear because actually the company is liable. The company that created One Wish Willow is liable. I mean, some people watching this film, they want to redirect responsibility for what happens to Nikki onto this company. So the logic is like the corporation makes the product is dangerous, the help desk is apparently staffed by one bored guy who clearly doesn't give a shit. So where's the liability? Is there going to be a class action lawsuit against the company that made One Wish Willow? This relates to what I was saying before about taking the film too literally. The company that made One Wish Willow is not really a character in this film. They are kind of just a vehicle to deliver the story. The film needs Bear to have access to a wish, so the film puts a wish vending business in the setting. There is perhaps a bit of corporate satire going on here, but it's kind of ambient. The help desk scene is funny because it's kind of absurd, not because the film is gearing up to make an argument about like consumer protections, although of course that's important as well. You could ask the same question about basically any horror movie with a cursed object, like who's responsible for the videotape in The Ring, who manufactured the monkey's paw, who's licensing the rights to the Necronomicon. Nobody, right? Because the cursed object exists to put the protagonist in front of the decision they need to make. The film is interested in the decision, not the supply chain necessarily. Bear chose to buy the One Wish Willow. He broke it. He made the wish. The fact that this One Wish Willow could be purchased at a strip mall type shop is a joke about the banality of evil, not a sort of exculpatory clause for the person who used it. I think the reason this type of comment shows up at all is, again, related to this recurring theme that some viewers don't want to sit with Bear's decision as the central event of this film. Pushing the blame onto a company is a way of making the wish feel like kind of an accident, like Bear stumbled into a situation rather than walking into a store, putting money down, and intentionally activating a magic object whose function he at least theoretically understood. The company didn't necessarily trick him per se. He wanted what he wished for. The film is built around that decision, and any reading that displaces the decision onto the surrounding apparatus is reading the film with the volume turned all the way down. I think like there's something going on. You're missing something critical here. So I talk a lot about the so-called male loneliness epidemic in my first video, and a few people responded by trying to kind of galaxy brain this take and say like, well, actually, it's not about male loneliness